children. It's good to be here. See all your happy faces. I'm just a little bit disappointed that we don't have more adults here, parents, because it would have helped a lot. But still, listening to everybody who has spoken so far, it seems that we're all thinking alike. We're saying things in different ways, but there's a fundamental thing that we all believe in. I listened to Amos Ebiaga, a young boy. And I looked at his mom while he was speaking. She had a proud smile on her face. Amos, at his age, is making waves. Somebody believed in him. Somebody made it happen for him. Somebody encouraged him. Sadly, he mentioned that he's written books, but the books are in his mother's car trunk, and some are in the shelves. Obviously, our children are not reading. We're watching TV. TV is good. I've learned a lot of things from TV, so have my children. But the reading culture is something we need to improve on. I'll tell you a little story. There was a day I was at home, and I noticed that my daughter, who normally comes in every 5 minutes, Mommy this, Mommy that, Mommy this, give me this, can I have this, can I do that, can I go there? It was relatively quiet on that day. She hadn't said much to me. And after a few hours, I went out to see, and she was sitting in front of the television, staring into Cartoon Network. She had sat there for hours. Whether you pass, you walk by, she didn't know. She was staring at that television so intently. And something said to me, she's been at it too long. Send her outside. Get her outside to play, get some fresh air. So I said to her, go outside and play. Of course, she protested, but eventually she did. 15 minutes later, she was banging at the door. I opened the door, and she was there with blood all over her. Apparently, she had fallen while riding a bike. So instinctively, as soon as I saw blood, I started to blame myself for sending her outside to play. Okay? Your natural reaction to an external wound is to regret something. Something happens to your system. But I caught myself in time. Why? This was a wound that could be treated because I could see it. So it didn't matter that she had gone out to play and got hurt. She got fresh air. She got a little wound. After I cleaned up the blood, I saw it wasn't really that much of a wound. There is a different kind of wound that we don't see until it's too late. The wound to the mind. And you cannot treat it or address it because you don't see it. So children can play, children can get hurt. That's fine. If it's a wound you can see, you're better off. If it's one you can't see, it's more difficult. Adora's feedback, I think. I listened to her, the young lady on the TEDx video. I spoke to the lady I was sitting by, a friend, and I said, could you describe this young girl to me from what you see? She called her sharp. She called her deep. She called her exceptionally intelligent. She called her a forward thinker. Perhaps if I asked another parent, what did you think of Adora? Maybe a different reaction would have come. Something like, hey, this one will sell somebody. She's too bold. She's too forward. Hold her down, hold her down. Two reactions, the same person. You will see where I'm leading to when I come back to culture, how people react to things. But then somebody believed in her and encouraged her. At age 4, she had started to read. At age 6, her mom bought her a laptop. She has a blog. She has a website. Somebody saw something, believed in it, and encouraged her. Dumebi Akukwe, she said she preferred the do's. Do this, do that. She didn't like the don'ts. Don't do this, don't do that. The positives helped her to grow. And she said, greatness starts now. So when you say do, be, the greatness starts to manifest. Children prefer do to don't. Then I met a young man outside, and he said to me, that being here reminded him of unfulfilled dreams. I can identify with that. When you see all these children, their excitement, the way they are, you remember when you were a child. You remember the dreams that you had. And then you start to wonder what happened. My kindergarten teacher told me that if there was ever going to be a female president in Nigeria, that it was me. Well, I'm almost 50 now, and I don't see that ever happening. But the point is, she saw something that probably made her think I would make a good leader. Parents, adults, are the ones who identify potential and talent in children, not the children. We owe them a responsibility. And then when we were making flowers, I took paper and I tried to follow this young man. And to my shock, it wasn't as easy as I thought. The children did it better than the adults. The children were grasping it better than the adults. If you want to teach people something, if you want people to learn something, teach it to the children. If you wait for them to become adults before you teach them, it's already too late. They are enthusiastic, they are excited, they absorb stuff. So if you want something to happen in 20 years' time, teach it to a child of 5, and in 20 years, she will manifest it. Now, to the theme of my talk. Adults know better, don't they? They do. Okay. Have you ever been with an adult, a teacher, your parent, and you're sharing your dreams? I want to do this. I want to go to the moon. I want to be president. I want to be a singer. I want to sing in the orchestra. I want to meet the president of America. And you have them smiling at you knowingly, as if to say, oh, poor child, your dreams are too big. Slow down. Just go and pass your maths and English first, and then we can talk about being president later. Have you done that? It can be quite frustrating because in your mind, you have so much going on, and then there's somebody telling you, slow it down. We will get there. Okay. But then we tend to trust the adults to guide us, to lead us to where we need to be, right? Because based on their experience, their years, they know better. Or do they? I'll tell you about my nephews. They were bright students, 2 boys. They made their A's. It was standard. They always came home with good results. Always. You come home, we give you more homework, give you more work. You go back to school, you get your A's. All we wanted from them was good grades. And they came back and they gave us good grades. So they became their good grades. We were proud of them. And we told people they were doing well in school. They were excelling. And then they left the country to go and study abroad. Fast forward 2 years later, and I meet them again. And it was as if I was meeting them for the very first time. I hardly recognized my nephews, not because they had grown taller. It wasn't any physical thing. It was in their manner of thinking, the kind of conversations they wanted to engage in now, the questions they were asking, the things they were contesting. They were asking, why is this so? Why is that so? Things they never did before. Prior to their leaving the country, they go to school, they get taught, they give back what they've been taught, they come home, and we say they've done well until they left. I started to wonder, I was curious, what happened to cause this transformation? I saw boys who suddenly became confident in themselves. However, in their mannerisms, in talking, you would wonder, and because I know that some women or some parents found them offensive, in quote. Why? Because they were asking too many questions. It seemed like they were being too forward. Why? Because our culture probably does not accept things like that. Okay? So, but it wasn't being rude or forward. It was confidence. Something had happened out there that changed the way they thought and saw things. I started to wonder, what happened? Culture shock. What is culture? I don't want you to think about culture in terms of the Ijaw tradition versus the Yoruba tradition, the Nigerian culture versus the Western culture. I want you to think of culture as in things that happen where you live, the way things are done around you, the way you expect things to be done around you. And culture varies from home to home. You have your home culture, you have your school culture, you have your church culture, then you have culture as it is from state to state, from country to country. I have a friend who has a culture of feeding. If she loves you, she will feed you. She will feed you in the morning, she will feed you post-morning. She will feed you pre-afternoon, she'll feed you after. She keeps feeding you to show love. Her children grew up in an environment where food meant love. So they were constantly eating. Fast forward to when her 12-year-old went to college, boarding school. Culture shock. Because in boarding school, you eat 3 times a day. And she couldn't handle it. It was a shock to her system and a shock to her mother's system when she came back on holiday because she was half her size. Culture at home versus culture outside of home. Consider when your children go on holidays or what you call sleepovers. So maybe you wake up at 7 to get them ready for school, and they go to another house where they wake up at 5 a.m. to say morning prayers. Culture shock. They can't understand what is happening in this family. They call them weird, but that's their culture. So that's why I want you to think about culture in these terms. So back to my nephews. What was it that happened? Somebody out there became more interested in who they were, what they had to offer, besides good grades. Grades are fine, don't misunderstand me. To get anywhere, you need to have your grades. But there was somebody out there who was more interested in what these children had to offer, the skills they had to navigate life, which is what you need much more than your A's and B's. So, my question is, does our culture hinder the creativity and ambitions of our children? I want you to think about this. Traditionally, we have a traditionally conservative culture. It is good, it's not a bad thing. So what I'm doing here is offering a perspective. I am not reaching a conclusion. It has its value system. It has positives. Those are important. But are there certain aspects of our culture certain aspects of our culture that are impeding our youth from being the best that they can possibly be? That's a question to answer. The teaching culture, does it stifle creativity? Are we teaching our children to give us back what we have given to them? If I teach you math, give me back what I've given you. If I teach you, whatever it is that I give to you and you give me back and you make your scores, is that true development? So I ask, what is teaching? To be able to expose a child to knowledge, to impart the knowledge, and to expose the child to knowledge. In other words, because there are teachers, we have fantastic teachers. There are teachers who have the art, who know the art and science of teaching. They will teach you well, but they will teach you to be like them, or teach you to be like some famous person somewhere. But they forget to teach you to be the most important person, which is who? You. So the mark of a great teacher is one who teaches you how to be you and how to be the best that you can be. So I ask again, is our teaching culture, our breeding culture, the way we raise our children, the way we live, is it preparing them for life outside of your immediate environment? I think about parents and I say, what do we really want for our children? And as far as I'm concerned, every parent wants to know that if he or she is not available, that a child will survive. Now, I want you to think about the things that you're doing for these children now and take yourself out of that equation. What would happen to your child? Would she struggle? Would she make it? Would she fall apart? Or would you have equipped them to go out there and be the best that they can be, irrespective of whether you are there or not? That is what a parent wants. A child who can exist without them in the harsh world. Okay, so how can the children help us to help them? How can you help us, the adults, your parents, your teachers, to make you the best that you can be? By asking questions. Children are born curious. They want to know everything. They want to know everything. If anything, I think we shut them down because they really want to know everything. And they take you to places that you don't want to go to because you're embarrassed about it. But they are innocent children, so they don't understand. So they ask questions. My little nephew, he was in school. His mother was pregnant for his brother. And he was in school. And his teacher said, so how are you preparing for your little baby brother? And he was like, I have a baby brother. And then he went home and he ran to his mom and he said, Mommy, I have a baby brother. And she said, yes, you're going to have a baby brother. And he said, where is he? Where is he? And she touched her tummy and said, here. And he said, what? You ate the baby? Okay, well, at age 5, maybe you don't go to explain how come the baby is in your tummy. But there are ways around it. So we have to devise ways to answer every question that a child raises. You know why? Technology has come to stay. Social media is here to stay. We cannot shy away from it. It is there. If you don't answer their questions, somebody else will answer it for them. And the people that will answer it are not the people you want to answer them. So the responsibility is yours. Our culture probably prevents us from discussing things about life, about death, about war, about sex and sexuality with our children. Believe me, a 5-year-old child knows about the male and female anatomy. They also know what goes in where. What they don't know is why. There is a difference between a secret thing and a private thing. Take that away with you. Sex is not secret. It is private. And when we teach our children about private things, we teach them to respect private things, that there is a place and a time for private things, and they respect it. But when you call it a secret, they will go behind you and find out about this secret. What you shroud in secrecy is what they are most curious about. Questions need answers. Parents have to give these answers. Don't let them get the answers from where you don't want them to get them from. Okay. And then, asking questions. Again, talking about our culture. When a child asks an adult, why? It's almost like a demand. So perhaps it puts the adult off. You're too forward. So the question why is, I want an answer now. Explain this to me. So let's try something else, children. Rather than why don't you ask, why is? When you add the is, it changes the tone of the question. Why is a demand. Tell me why this is. Why is somebody who is desirous of knowledge, curiosity. Why is this like this? Why is this like that? Why does this happen like that? So when you ask questions, put them in a way that, because, of course, there is a difference between being bold and confident and being rude. It's a very thin line. What we call confidence might be rudeness. What we call rudeness might just be confidence. Bold is good if you're a bold child. It's a good thing, it's not a bad thing. But there's a thin line between appearing bold and appearing rude. In the same way, there's a thin line between timidity and respect. Show respect, but don't be timid. We want bold children. Bold children get answers. Answers empower you. Because when you understand something, even if you don't solve the problem, the power is in the understanding of a thing. This is the reason why this is like this. Oh, I see. This is the reason why you must wait before you can do this. Oh, I see. Questions need answers. Parents have to give those answers. So, in rounding up, think about children who are sharp. If your neighbor comes to your house and tells you that I'm of Igbo, I'm an Igbo woman. So I will try to translate this to English, although it doesn't really carry it well. If a neighbor comes to your house and your daughter does something and your neighbor says, hey, this child will fly. Hold this child. It means she has recognized something about this child. However, you may choose to interpret it two ways. Flying is not a bad thing. Flying to the wrong destination is a bad thing. So if somebody tells you your child will fly, don't clamp her wings and say, we have to hold this one down. Because what you're doing is killing her creativity for life. She probably won't be able to come out of it. So if your child will fly, think of it as potential to fly. And what you do with people, children who are flying early, is to position your wings beneath the wings of your child and steer this child in the right way. And when it's time, you release your hold. You know when you do driving school, in the proper driving schools, the man sitting behind you, your driving instructor, has his own braking system. So he lets you, he gives you the confidence, you think you're in control, you have the steering, and you're moving. But he has his own steering system just in case he sees danger and you're not able to handle it. What does he do? He stops the car to protect you. That is the role of the parent. The child must go forward with all the potentials. People have to identify, don't see things in children as negatives. No, we put those connotations. See everything as a positive. Like Dumebi said, use the do's, use the be's, leave out all the negative things that hold children down. And then finally, comments like, your child will fly, can lead a parent to be less accommodating of a child's exploratory tendencies, a child who wants to explore. And then what you do is you become less accommodating. No, don't do that. That will make her fly. Oh, no, don't do that. Stop her. Keep her for a little while longer. And then you begin to demand some kind of conformance, conforming to stuff to prevent a child from being all that he or she can be. And as I end, I'd like to recap everything that I've said so far. Adults don't always know better. But they can get help from other people. Until we begin to raise children as a community, then we might have problems. We will stagger. One person can't do it alone. So that where you go wrong, your neighbor helps you out. Where she goes wrong, her neighbor helps her out. And you find partnerships. Things work better when people partner. So when you don't know, rest assured somebody else knows. Know where to get help and work together to raise a community of children who will make us proud, who will lead this country to greater heights. Because this is the time, actually, to get them. Different settings have different cultures, and there is good and there is bad. There are some aspects of our culture that are fantastic. The value systems, very positive. There are some aspects that might be shortchanging our children and keeping them down. We need to address those. As a youth, or as a child, sail with the good and minimize the impact of the bad. How do you do this, you may ask? Explore your full potential. Feel free to ask questions. That's why you're here. You were made that way. Ask and demand for answers politely. And for both youths and parents, elders, teachers, maintain a healthy balance between what can be, what is, and what should be. Thank you.